history on how the tax rates work. It is confusing. The notice that goes in the paper is confusing. People have told the comptroller's office for years and years that it's confusing because it does not read right. And if you don't do the work on it and you don't do the history on it, you don't understand it. The 210% comes out because you're taking apples and oranges, as you like to use the term, and trying to combine them, when actually the 0.327 is inclusive of the effective tax rate, which is only your M&O. It is not your interest and penalties.
Okay. I need to comment, and then we will be done on the administration's part, unless the legal advisor wants to speak. On September, just for the public's information, Jim Miller did call the comptroller's office, and they did come in at his request, because any citizen, any person can make an allegation to an agency, and they have to follow up on it. On September 7th, 2011, we were visited by the investigator of the comptroller's office. We provided him with copies of audits from 2006 to 2010, which Jim had questions on, and we provided him the street maintenance tax reserve accounts. He looked over them, everything looked good. He left. September 12th, 2011, we were visited by our new auditor at our request, costing the taxpayers money to come earlier than that they're usually intended to be utilized at Jim Miller's request. The new auditor reviewed the financials and audit forms from 2004, which is what she wanted to look at when the street maintenance tax was adopted, 2004 to 2010. And she took the street maintenance tax collections and disbursements up to that point. She didn't find anything, but for your satisfaction as a business owner of this community, sir, she will be doing a presentation as listed in the newspaper September 19, 2011, which is a Monday, which is listed on the advertisement in the newspaper. She will come do a PowerPoint presentation for you and anybody that's interested in there, giving a short presentation on how the money is dispersed, how it's collected, and how the city of Floresville has maintained proper accounting practices, sir. Thank you.
Are there any other comments? Public hearing?
Couple of points. I'm going to read this, and this is a public notice. It says, if the governing body adopts the effective tax rate for this year of 16 cents per $100 of taxable value, the amount of taxes imposed in this year on the average home would be $162.92. Tax on the average taxable value of a resident homestead in the taxing unit for the current tax year, disregarding residents' homestead exemptions available only to disabled persons or persons 65 years of age or older. Next paragraph. If the governing body adopts a proposed tax rate of 0.3227 per $100 of taxable value, the amount of taxes imposed in this year on the average home would be $328.58. Tax on the average taxable value of a resident homestead in the taxing unit for the current tax year, disregarding homestead exemptions available only to disabled persons or persons 65 years of age or older. As I read those two paragraphs, it looks like an either or. Nowhere in this does it say one is inclusive of the other. Hence my number of 210%. Second comment. Yes, the comptroller did come here, Andy.
Yes, sir.
He came here on that day. After he met with you, he met with me.
That's correct. He told me that.
His words to me on that day were, I am a police officer. I am not an accountant. I am not an auditor. My job was to come here, get these records, and take them to the auditor for review at the state level. And if the auditor at that point has any questions, they will come back, or I will come back and ask for those documentation. This process takes several weeks. So to say that the law enforcement officer from the comptroller came and looked at the records and said everything was okay may be a very true statement from a peace officer's perspective, but certainly not from an auditor's perspective.
That's why we involved our auditor, and she will be here because she has been working with the comptroller's auditor and will do the presentation at that point in time.
And as we discussed with you on Tuesday, as I have discussed with numerous city council members, an audit on the accounting practices of the city.
Get back to the tax rate, Jim.
This is appropriate. I am addressing the comments that he made directly to me. If we're going to be, this is going to be an open forum, Mr. Mayor, let's have both sides of the story, or at least all of the information.
Talk about the tax rate, though.
This is actually very, very appropriate to it. But a accounting practices audit isn't going to track the money. So I appreciate that the city has had an audit, and the request of the city auditor to dispute another point that you made, Mr. City Manager, was not at my request. I do not have the authority to request an audit of the city. What I did do is file a complaint with the auditor in that the numbers presented in your budgets did not reflect the numbers that the state comptroller's reports.
And the presentation that will be presented on Monday, the date that I give, will be sufficient that you can understand how accounting practices and bookkeeping are done in this area.
Okay, well then one real quick question. On August 31st, 2010,
I'm going to terminate the public hearing unless you're going to talk about the tax rate. Is there any other comments regarding the tax rate from the public?
but this does have a huge impact on the tax rate, Mr. Mayor. If we are showing sales tax
Talk about
dollars,
the tax rate that's being proposed, 3227.
the
Don't
tax,
talk about anything, any controversy that you've stirred up. Then talk about the tax rate.
what determines the tax rate, Mr. Mayor? The amount of money that we need to spend in this city. If the amount of money we need to spend on this city is also reflective of sales tax, then what I'm raising, these points of discussion, as you call it, controversy, okay, have a direct impact on the tax rate. So my question, if in fact this is an accounting practice thing that's going to help me understand, as I
One more
look,
minute, please.
pardon me?
One more minute, please.
Okay, if we looked at the city's budget posted on the webpage dated August 31st, 2010, the year-to-date received sales tax was $603,000 and some change. We look at the budget posted on the city's webpage dated September 12th, 2010. 12 days later, the amount of sales tax collected by the city is $875,000 and some change. We look at the approved budget for this year, and it shows sales tax collected by the city for fiscal year 09-10 of $1.245 million. According to those numbers, we collected $635,000, more than 50% of our sales tax in 30 days. I don't know how that's possible. You were the one preparing those budgets at that time. How did we collect more than 50% of our sales tax in 30 days?
I think we've discussed this on budget workshops here at town. The books are updated when the money comes in from the comptroller's office.
According to the comptroller,
Jim,
one payment is made once a month to the city for sales tax.
your minute is up, sir. Any other comments